Mr. Wiesenthal, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. Hotel Altstadt is more than a hotel. It feels like a living, breathing gallery of stories. Before we dive into the big industry topics, I would love to start with you. What inspired you to start Hotel Altstadt Vienna, and what kind of hotel did you feel the world needed when you opened your doors?
Okay, so it's now something like 35 years ago. That time I worked in the international computer industry, and I had just worked for 10 years in a company where I started with 22 people and brought it up to 200, and then I had to reduce it again to 100. And I always was a vivid traveler and enjoyed the best hotels and places. And when I left the company there, I had a discussion with an insurance company at that time in Moscow, who were looking to buy a hotel in Vienna. And they asked me if I could consult them. And so I started to work with them together. But then there were political problems in 1989 in Moscow. And then they said, no, uh, we cannot further go on because of the local political problems. And at that time, I just had found the house here, and it was also too small for them because it was only that time 24 rooms. And then I decided I do it on my own, because I had the feeling, if you have a hotel, it's very easy. You only have to do a good breakfast and you have to do a good bed, have a good bed for your clients. And exactly so it worked out very fine. When we started, here, it's an old building out of 1907, and it's really built in the so-called Ringstraßen style. And it's one of these big major buildings like you find it throughout Vienna on the main streets. So I was at that time really looking forward to do it a very modern design hotel. But at that time, the architects who did modern design, they costed 3 times as much in the building what I was ready to pay for. So then I started to change the style, and I did it together with a friend of mine who was a good interior decorator. And we really at time didn't. We started with 24 rooms, and also at time we started with different rooms. Very nice silks, very nice material. We always worked on quality. And whenever this here is a huge building with around 8,000 square meters or 80,000 square feet, I started with approximately 8,000 square feet. And nowadays we're having probably 37,000 square feet. Because whenever, somebody moved out, we took the space and added it to the hotel. I, on my own, I always loved to travel very nicely in very nice and very good hotels.
A five-star hotel you mentioned.
Yes, we really, my dream always was a five-star hotel, but then when we started it because of building situation, because of the staircases and of the fire reasons, we were not able to do five-star. We built it in the same quality, and especially we always were a hotel which very much concentrated on the service quality. And so we were more or less a five-star hotel, but just with a four-star rating. And especially also from the beginning, I was always a very good people manager, and I always really looked very good on my employees. So we treated our people very well. And so it was always a big pleasure for everybody to work here. We always had big fun here in the building and here in the hotel, and people really loved it. And we really, I had a time, for over 5 years where I had a change from less than 5% a year of employees. And that's in the hotel industry. Usually you have 20 to 25% change of people. So, because it was always fun to work here. And the most important thing for me always that there was a lot of love in the house, because always had been a little bit a person with depression. And here it was always a good time in the house because everybody enjoyed to be here. Clients loved it. And very often my speeches in the hotel industry, I always said, the most important thing is that your employees feel happy and also the clients, So it was focus really on both, obviously, but if the people who work here feel great and happy, then the clients automatically feel happy, and we see that. And I had that time really I was came out of the management of international companies and had that time a good education. And I was always looking, that when I started the hotel here, everybody said, so much work, 24 hours a day. And I said, yes, and 365 days a year, but you have to organize it. And I really made on one of these annual Hotel Owners Association meetings, which are always here in Vienna or in Austria in January. I had a speech, management by not being here, and because I really always organized the business here and the hotel that my people really were managing it, and I only gave the direction. I was responsible for the design, I was responsible for how it looked, and that people felt well, but I never thought that being here 24 hours a day as an owner was an important thing. And so really we also had one of the rules where that the people also who work here make decision, was my rule. One of 10 decisions can be wrong, but only it should not be an important one, because if you don't teach people to make decisions, you can do everything on your own, because if they don't trust themselves that they can do correct decisions, they will always come to you, ask, should I do it this way or should I do it that way? And especially in hotel, which is open through the whole night. Everybody can call the owners at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning, but I really prefer to sleep, and not to discuss if I have no idea if the chocolate should be hotter or should be cold, because it's not really things which changes life for my clients or my employees. So it was always a very dedicated staff which we had here. And if you don't know who is the painter, it was a little bit a rude picture. And I think it hangs since when I was 19, it was in my living room. Architect and because we had so much already on Whitman furniture, we always had been together doing projects and marketing it together. And Whitman brought so many people into our house for looking on their furniture in our salons, in the bar, in the restaurant where the breakfast is, which the press loves to write about it, or if we get the television in, we have lots of people who make films here because each room is so different. Here, pictures and really artwork is inspiring people, is inspiring the clients.
Definition for the hotel. Art, it's like you covered my next questions, which was about art. How do you approach the section of art and what role does it play in your definition of hospitality, which you just mentioned beautifully? And it's very rare to find that comes only from passion, from someone that is truly passionate, that you can keep up and building new rooms with having soulful connections with the designers and the knowledge on how to position art and how to mix and match art in the space, respecting the products, respecting the art itself. A lot of interior designers try to do that but if there is no soul and not passion from somewhere in the business, it looks fake, it looks seasonal, it looks trendy. So that's why when I was reading your story, I was impressed, and it's beautiful First of all, it's very important that it's a family business and it stayed in the family, as you know better than me. In hospitality, very often people take hotels, they bring them up, then they sell them, and then they move to a different project. It's not the easiest industry, as you will know and you experienced. And how has the meaning of luxury changed over the last decade or the decades, especially for the modern guest walking through your doors today?
I think the real luxury of hotels in reality is you can only differentiate you to the competition with some other good properties really with the quality of service, you know. And it's not only the quality of service, it's a question of a real smile, you know, or a smile somebody makes because he should do a smile, you know. And here it's very funny if when some of my colleagues are staying in my hotel, you know, and they always said, you know, now I was 10 times in his hotel, but I didn't see him, you know, but his stuff is perfect, you know. And it's not, especially, you must be able to really motivate the people and that they really love their jobs, you know. And they're not here because they like to earn money, you know. They're really here because they like to communicate with people. And that's number one. Additionally, you know, just talking about employees, you know, I started 25 years ago to doing once a year a trip with my employees. You know, my first trip I still can remember very good was to Venice, you know. And the reason was, you know, how should one of our cleaners, a woman, you know, or a man or whoever, you know, what's a good hotel? They never will be in the position to pay 400 euros a night, you know, staying in a good hotel of 2 or 3 days. So at that time I thought, you know, we have to bring them there, you know, so they get the feeling. It's very some of these trips were really very funny, you know, because we nowadays we really get because we're really very well accepted on the market, and you know, by all of this, we got our Michelin key, you know, for the hotel, you know, and we're the only hotel which has been for the last 15 years, always under the 10 best hotels in Vienna on TripAdvisor, you know. So we really have a looking permanent on the quality, you know. So bringing good can remember a trip to Zurich, you know. That's probably 20 years ago when my youngest daughter was studying architecture in Zurich, you know. We decided this year we go to Zurich, visit her, the whole group, you know. And then we were really in one of the best five-star hotels, you know, in Zurich. And I really remember it was one of my first five-star hotels. And when I started to be a manager, when I went to Zurich, you know, and at that time I really adored how everything looked perfect, you know, and they already painted again, you know, the handles going up the stairs. And then we went through the hotel, and this was just after the hotel had a little bit worked, relaxed on the future. You know, it was just before they started a big rebuilding process, you know, and finally we were in a suite, you know, and then really, which costed probably 4 times the rate of our hotel, you know. And then my cleaning ladies, you know, looked on it and said, look, that's impossible how this works together here, etc. You know, these ladies, you know, which probably earned less than in a month what one night in this suite costed, you know. So they really learned how it should be. And you have to give the people who work with you the possibility to also to enjoy it on yourself. And therefore also we really started a couple of years ago, probably 5, 10 years. And we have cooperation with some other very good hotels. And our employees can stay there for just 75 euros a night for a double room together with their partner or with their children, whatever it is. And this really is also valuing their job because they really go sometimes to hotels which cost twice as much as ours. And there they really get something, they can learn something there, and they also can enjoy it. And this is really doing is a very positive thing for the employees.
Of course, to experience something and it's in the industry, and this is the best way to learn, of course. And we haven't heard that from a lot of big companies and corporate companies. We host commercial 5-star or bigger hotels here. We want to keep it to the individual. We've always been in definitely family owned boutique hotels with an identity. We spoke about the values and the principles that they have guided Altstadt Vienna throughout the years. How about in moments of pressure and growth? You mentioned you started with 20, it was 22 rooms you started with?
Yes, and
You
we're
started,
having now
yeah?
62 rooms, but we have probably 25 suites and the rest is double rooms. So also what we see here really is that with a good product, we are doing twice as much revenue as the market per room. So people are really prepared to pay for quality. And you only can really, and obviously, small luxury hotel was the decision when we joined it. It's probably now 15 years ago or so. Said we really were looking to get an outside quality mark, on the things we are doing. So it's really, and I must say also, when I joined 15, 20 years ago, small luxury on the marketing, looking on what's important for small luxury hotels, changed a lot in our direction, because I just gold on in the bathroom or silver on the kitchenware, isn't luxury. Luxury is, feeling well somewhere, and being treated nicely and really getting a good smile from somebody, and having a good time there. And I think now also, and from also what's really important always was 1996, first hotel in Vienna, which was authorized for green future. And so we were always in front of the market with what we were doing. And it's also one of my points, which I always said and say to my employees. Now it is really my two daughters running the show, which have obviously no time today. Something more important things to do. But I always told my people, as long as we're 3 steps in front of the others, we are doing well. And that is really what we really can manage very well. And it's also here, we're doing every year, we're building probably 6 rooms new. So we'll always did another 2 rooms with Tonnet. Tonnet is an old Austrian, Italian, Czechoslovakian brand of furniture. Tonnet was the first company who could bend wood. Yes, and so we're doing also 2 rooms with them together. It's really every room which we do is a showpiece, and this is really important because we are putting so much fun into it and interest and quality works. I'm just here sitting in the, you don't can see very much now. Maybe I will turn around afterwards my laptop, and I'm sitting in a suite, which is Seehof Suite, which we made together with Seehof is an hotel in Salzburg in the lake area. And owner was 10 years the president of the Austrian Hotel Owners Association. And he and his wife and his very good friends, her son, who took now over the hotel, worked here 20 years ago in summer as a student, to make it going. And so there is really soul in the room. Love.
What kind of experiences do you think future travelers will crave most, and how can boutique hotels deliver them?
You know, actually, nowadays we really have to look on all these solutions for using the uh, products of this world, that you don't ruin it. We can't eat all the tuna fish at once. We really have to look that we're using in the bakery for very well good products, that we really take the things which we take out of the world, that we manage these things with heart, not only looking to pay less, for things which you need, but really to look at when we're working together with producers, with farmers, etc. They must be able really to generate good product, and if a role here for we have probably there are two very good bakeries in Vienna. One of them provides us with the bread, and the rolls. It's really expensive, but it's such a difference in quality. And there's no sense to discuss with them how much a roll is. If a roll is €1, or 80 cents, he must be able for a long time to produce good quality. If I only say, no, I only pay 60 cents, I don't pay more, he can't work on the future and may produce good quality and have a good efficiency using the materials of the world. You just have to look around that everybody can live with these things well.
It's been such a pleasure, Mr. Wiesenthal, and thank you for your story. And the spirit of Altstadt are such a reminder that hospitality is at its heart deeply personal.
Thank you very much for the good talk with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much and have a great day.